Hello.
Hello. Oh, you have a sweater matching your phone.
Oh yeah.
Oh boy, it's cold this morning.
I know. I'm freezing.
And now also.
Yeah.
No, well, it's only this. We're going to do only half a blood today
Why?
because it takes some time, this one, for some reason. We only did half of the 29.
We only did half last night, right?
So he thinks he's going to do half today. But the next one is also long.
Oh boy. We'll catch up during the Super Bowl.
Where is that?
I think February 9th. Let me check.
Oh,
Yeah, I think February 9th. Let me check.
not that I'm so.
Yeah, the 9th. Yeah.
Not that I'm so concerned.
Unless you have a big bet.
Remember when Brian used to rent a big TV?
Yeah, yeah.
And if you didn't go, you were on his
You
SHIT list.
yeah. He hasn't changed much.
Now, I went once,
Yeah.
but for me,
Yeah.
American football
Right.
is not interesting.
Right.
The same as his soccer dinners. Remember? One year I said thank you, but no thank you.
One year he threw a chair at Marciano.
Say it again?
One year he threw a chair at Marciano for some reason.
At his shia, at his
It is sukkah.
sukkah?
Yeah.
But Ellie still says hello to him.
Yeah.
But Ellie doesn't know what he's doing, to be honest.
Uh-huh.
Hey, George.
Jorge.
There we go. Hi. He disappeared.
No, yeah.
He was there, then he's gone.
Wife must have summoned him. Hi, Abe.
Hello. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Hey.
You?
Yeah, I'm good.
Are you going to China for Pesach?
No.
No.
Been there, done that.
To Singapore.
Well, Singapore is civilized, at least.
Yeah.
So we have a girl in the office from Singapore, and she went for 2 weeks for
Yeah.
the family.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
I hope she doesn't chew gum on
it's a long trip. He says,
Yeah, it's
no,
like 16 hours or something.
it's not for 2 weeks. It's not too long.
Oh, yeah, because it takes
She was
a
talking
day and a half
about
to get there.
Yeah.
I am back. I didn't abandon you. I did get summoned by my son this time.
Oh, by your son, okay.
But it's the correct word, summon.
Summon.
I said I went from being a doctor. I am now the very glorified Uber driver.
Oh.
Oh.
Which one pays better?
Probably the Uber driver. I hate to say that.
You know you could be replaced.
It's a shame.
I am always replaceable.
No, yeah, so you can always organize a Waymo driver.
Waymo, right?
It's the future.
Yeah. Have you been in one?
It's the present.
No, it's the present. Yeah. No, I haven't been.
I mean, it's okay. It's good.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Have you used it, Walter?
Yeah,
I used it last week. Very weird.
I've used it. I've used it.
I was
But
driving on
I like to talk to the drivers.
I was driving on 3rd Street last week, and I see car come close to me, so I honked. It was a Waymo. I didn't realize till later.
It's not gonna go any faster. It's not gonna change.
Change anything.
All right.
Okay, we're on Chav Tes,
Ahmed
Ahmed
Bey.
Beis. Omar by lo shana lo domer mishatet b'cha. But Omar lo hayu dvar ma'olam. Meaning, we talk about somebody hiding 2 Adim behind a fence, and the guy says, "You owe me $100." The guy says, "Yes." Then the next day comes to him and says, "Pay me the money." He says, "No, I was just joking with you." So when he says, "I was just joking with you," then we accept that he doesn't have to pay. But if he says, "Lo hayu dvar ma'olam," I never admitted to you when there are Adim that heard him say something, then he's a kafran. Now the chazaka is that he's a liar and he's never believed to take a shavua. Amrav Papa Drevacha Barada. Hachi Armina Mishmei Rava. Kol mili dichdi lo dechiri inshi. This kind of conversation is so non-memorable that people are not going to remember exactly what was said. And since the admission, when he said yes, was not really serious, and the next day he said it was a joke, perhaps even the other litigant forgot what it says. And therefore, even if he says lo hayu dvar ma'olam, he's not considered a kafran. He would be believed if he took a shua. A person hid Adim in the canopy above a bed, and the two litigants were in the room, and he said, "Omer leibon you owe me $100." Omer lehein, the guy says yes. Omer ir v'shachvi lev alach sadi. Let those that are awake and those that are asleep be our Adim. And he was hoping that the guy would agree to say that, because he would think that everybody is sleeping. But he didn't agree. Omer leilo, I don't agree. Omer Rav Kahana. So when it came to the Bezdin and Rav Kahana was the Dayan, he said, Omer leilo, he denied. So it's not a true confession. Similarly, the Achmin Edim Bekivr Lechavre, person hid 2 Adim in a grave, in a cemetery, and the 2 litigants were in the cemetery. And he says again, Mani biyotcha, you owe me $100. And the guy said, hey. And then he says, Chayu meisi levi lech, let the living and the dead be my witnesses. Assuming that the guy would think it's only referring to the dead, he would say yes. And because he doesn't know that there's live witnesses buried in a grave, but yet he said lo. So Amrav Shimon ha'amr le lo. Even though even though he admitted yes, but then when he's asked about Adim, he says lo, I don't confess in front of them. So we don't force him to pay. Amr Ravina v'tema Rav Papa. Shmamina meha. We learn from here, Sham Ravina Marav, Tzorach Shiyamar Atem Edai. We said, when you make a transaction, you have to say, and these are my witnesses. Loshna Kiyomer Love. Certainly if the borrower says Atem Edai, that takes effect. And Loshna Mava V'Shosik Love. If the lender said Atem Edai and the borrower was quiet, he's accepting that. So therefore, time and amar lo. So if he says, I don't want to aid him, fine. Then we say he's not forced to pay. But if he didn't say lo, and he was just quiet, that would be considered a confession. Period. That's how we paskin. Hahuda v'korele kav rasho. He was called a bag of debts. That was his nickname. He borrowed money from everybody. Omar, he once said in front of the public, Man masikbi, those who are trying to collect from me, I admit it. Ella plenty below, except these people I don't owe money to. But based on that admission, also Tavula Dina Kamed Rav Nachman, they brought him in court in front of Rav Nachman that he should return what he owes to these people. And that guy in court says, no, he was making a joke. And Rav Nachman, Adam Osi Sholosh Biasatzmo. We believe that he says it was a joke. Why? Because it's common for people to spread the rumor that he owes money in order for people not to think that he's wealthy. I guess at that time, you didn't want to be known as wealthy because schnorrers would attack you, etc., etc. So there was a incentive for people to say that they owed money. And therefore, so when he went back and said it was a joke, we believe him. They would call him the mouse that lies with money. He was a stingy person. He didn't spend money from his own. Like a mouse that I guess watches his cheese or whatever. So Kikoshachim, when he was on his deathbed, Omer planya uplanya maski bezuzi. I owe money to these and these people. And then he died. Basar deshachiv, also tavina leyorshin. These people that he said I owe money to came to the heirs to collect money. Also come to Rav Yishmael Rav Yossi. We learn this principle that a person will spread rumors that he owes money because he doesn't want people to think he's wealthy. That's when he's alive and healthy. No. He wanted to make the argument that what he said on his deathbed is the truth. And therefore, the Yorshim Paru Palga, the people who he had said he owes money to, the heirs of the guy who died, paid them half the amount. Then Tavina Ladina Leidich Paga. So the claimants who claimed they were owed money by the guy who died took the Yorshim to court to get the other 50%. Also Kamed Rav Chia. Kishem Shalom Shlo Lashbias Atzmo Kachadamos Kach Adam Osir Shlo Lashbias Bono. The svara that the guy said that I owe money so that people will think he's not wealthy, that applies not just to him, but to his children. He wanted the people to think that his heirs were not wealthy. So then his taina was a good taina. And therefore the other people don't have a good taina. That they already went and collected 50%. Amrulay Nezel v'ne'ader. So the Yorshim said, let's take him to din. Get back the 50% that we paid. The die in Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yossi who paskined in the previous case, that remains. You can't be mavatal a prior psak din. So if a person in front of two witnesses admits that he owes money, and they make a kinyan, koisvin, so the 80 who witnessed this can write it all down in a star and sign on it. So that's further chizuk to the whole deal. V'im la, but if they didn't make a kinyan after the confession, then ein koisvin. Then you're not allowed to write a shtar. Because we leave it as a halva bal peh, as an oral loan, which has different halachic ramifications than a loan that's documented in the shtar. If the borrower admits b'fnei shlosha, there were 3 people sitting there, and he admitted, but lo kana miyodo, no kinyan was made. Because if a kinyan is made, so kol shekain, if you write a shtar in front of 2, you certainly write a shtar in front of 3. But here we're talking about he admitted in front of 3 without a kinyan. Maybe you'll say it's different. It's not just 2 eidim. Maybe it's a bezdin. So Rav Ami Amar koisvin, because by admitting in front of 3, that's like a bezdin, and a bezdin can write a shtar as a ma'isa bezdin. But Rav Asi Amar ein koisvin. Here they were serving as eidim alone and not a bezdin. Have uvde v'chash l'Rav Lahad de Rav Asi. Case came in front of Rav, and the guy had confessed in front of 3, and Rav paskined like Rav Asi not to write it, because perhaps when he confessed, he wasn't confessing in front of a bezdin. He thought they were eidim only. Amar Vada Barava, ha odita. Odita is a hodah, a confession. Zimnin kasvinan, the zimnin lo kasvinan, like we've said. Sometimes we write it down as a shtar, the confession, and then you can collect it like any loan that's documented in a shtar, and then sometimes we don't write it. So knifi v'yasvi lo kasvinan. If these 3 had gathered themselves there by themselves, and they happened to be sitting there, and he showed up and confesses in front of them, then we don't write that. We say that he didn't have kavanah, that they should be a bezdin. But kanfinu iu, if he went around and gathered these 3 people to confess in front of them, so he was makpid to gather 3 and not just 2. For witnesses, you only need 2. Why did he gather 3? He wanted a bezdin. So then they can write the shtar. He disagrees. He says even if he gathered these 3, we don't write the shtar until the amarluhu havi alai dayoni. The act of gathering alone is not enough. He has to say, and I want you to be my dayoni. And Mar Baravashi Amar, that afilu Amar havu alai dayoni lo kasfinan, even if he said, I want you to be my dayanim, we don't write the shtar. Ade kavi duchti, you've got to establish a place for the bezdin. Vishalchi, and they have to send out shluchim to the litigants. Umizamnin and leila beidin, there has to be an invitation to bezdin. That's the derech bezdin of working. Otherwise, if you don't go through these formalities, then we don't view it as a bezdin, and therefore you don't write a shtar. Hoida b'metaltali, he admits to that he owes to Chaim Yankel movable objects, metaltalin, and konomiyado, and they made a kinyan. Koisvin, you write it down as a shtar. If there was no kinyan, ein koisvin. Loy konu, ein koisvin. What if he admitted b'makarki, land, v'lo konomiyado, mai? Now, land is always available to be collected from. It doesn't go anywhere. It's different than metaltalin. You may not have the metaltalin. You may have to gather it. It's not ready to be returned. But karka doesn't have that problem. So he admits, I have this karka. I want to pay it back I want to use it to pay back a loan. But no kinyan was made. Since karka is always available to be collected, it's as if it's a kinyan or not. So amemer omar ein koisvin. You don't write a shtar. Marzutra omar koisvin. V'hilchasa koisvin. We lean towards the side that since karka is ready to be collected all the time, that you can write the shtar. Ravina ikla l'dimehari. He wound up in this place. So Rav Dimi bar Ravuna midamari said to Ravina, if there was a hoidah b'metaltali, v'isnu beinayu, if he admitted that he owes metaltali, and they're here, they're present at that place, my. Can you write it or not? Or like kimakarki domi, it's like if it's right here and you don't have to run around trying to collect it, it can be given. It's like karka, and since we said by karka you can write, here also you can write. But Ravashi Omar, given the machasre govaina, but it hasn't been given, lo, then you wouldn't write the shtar. Kahi udisa, there was a confession. The law of a Kasav Bay, where it was not written in the shtar, Amr lana kisu v'chismu yavule. It wasn't written in the shtar that the guy who confessed told us to write it and sign it and give it. So is that a good hoidah or not? Because I guess normally the language was, he told us to write it, sign it, and give it. But those words did not appear in this hoidah. So Abai v'Rabbanan Tarvayu, Hainu, the Reish Lakish. This is the case of Reish Lakish, Dam Reish Lakish. Chazake now Eidim Choyz Mil Ashtar Elam Keinasa Gadol. That if there are Eidim signed on the shtar, the Eidim would not sign it unless they saw that the parties were adults and is allowed to sell. And it was done according to Hoyle. Even didn't say in the shtar that they said that to write it and to sign it. So it's a general rule that if you see witnesses sign on a shtar, and sometimes the Soifrim will not write that everything was done according to Hoyle. So even if those details are missing, we don't prove from here that everything wasn't done correctly. So Maski la Rav Papa, v'yitem Ravuna b'nosh Rav Yoshua. Mi'ike midi danan lo yadinon. Either there are things that we the Chachamim, we don't know the halacha. That we don't write unless the guy who confessed asked it to be written. V'safri de beidina yadi? And the scribes of the Bezdin, they know, and you can rely on that? So, she'ilinu l'safri de Abayi v'yadi. So they asked the scribes of Abayi, and they knew the halach. They asked the Safrim of Rav of Yadi, and they also knew. So since the scribes, this is their profession, they know the laws that relate to them. So therefore, and we paskin like Reish Lakish, shtar shahayu ma'arim alav, b'taina shanoisen hayikotin boisashah. Let's say there's a shtar matana, but the people who don't want the matana to be given claim, you know what, the guy who gave the gift was a cotton. But the Eidim signed. There's Eidim there. So we don't listen to the ones that are complaining that it was a cotton. There's a chazaka that the Eidim will not sign something unless they documented that they were adults and everything was done according to din. That's an important halacha. Mario, I'm going to teach the next blot. So you want to switch now?
Yeah, hold on.